is our first interview in our Water Leaders series that we're doing for the Clean Water Education Partnership. I'm Hannah, and I work as the Education and Outreach Coordinator for CWEP, and I will let Keisha introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Keshi Satterwhite, and I work for the Ellerbe Creek Watershed Association since 2019. I'm currently as their Community Relations Director, but I didn't start in that role. I actually came in as their community engagement specialist. That's how I started.
Nice. So almost the same title you and I had back when you started. That's awesome. So today I'm just going to ask you a few questions about your experience with your workplace and some of the exciting things you're doing in the water sector. And we'll just have a conversation about what's been happening over at the Ellerbe Creek Watershed Association. Thanks so much for being willing to be interviewed. We're really excited to start this series off strong with one of our favorite partnerships that we have with you all over at ECWA. So my first question is, why did you decide to work for the Ellerbe Creek Watershed Association? Like, what drew you to that role and that organization?
Well, I would say like the Ellerbe Creek itself has always been, or since 1998, has been on the list of North Carolina's most polluted water bodies. But it still is a vital source of water, right? And so I decided to work in this sector because, one, I'm a concerned citizen, and I want to be able to work with the community I live in, but Durham as a whole, and then other organizations that really care about how we can collectively take strategic steps to be able to improve water quality in our watersheds like the Ellerbe Creek.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like our personal connections to water bodies can really be the reason why we choose to join the water sector. That's definitely why I was interested in joining the water sector, is because I'm from the Midwest and I have a really strong connection to the lakes and the rivers where I grew up. And I feel like we all have sort of those stories that connect us to the place and the people in our community. So that's really beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so my next question is, what inspires you and gives you hope to continue doing the work that you do?
Underrepresented communities in Durham who don't have access to environmental education and are seeking knowledge to be able to make their communities a better place is what really inspires me to do the work that I do. A really good example is a young lady that I came across through our program, the Watershed Academy. In the Watershed Academy, she joined our program in 2020. And so throughout the registration process, she went through, she signed up, and then before the Watershed Academy started, she sent a communication that her family had been displaced. And so I was saddened to hear that, but what gave me hope was she still wanted to move forward as part of the Watershed Academy. And so we were able to put some things in place to be able to make sure that she was still able to participate. That says a lot to me. That was something that not only did it inspire me as an individual, but it tells me that what we're doing around environmental education as a whole is something that's really needed in our Black and Brown communities that they currently don't have access to, or the access is limited. And so her story was one of the things that motivates me now, and as we're moving forward in the process, and also how as we're starting to share this information with others, thinking about the barriers that we have in place that we have to address when we're out working with the community, and some of the things that we really need to make sure that we are sensitive to around the work that we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I feel like those relationships and those personal experiences can definitely bring out our purpose and remind us why we do the work that we do. And I feel like this next question maybe gets at some of what you were talking about, because I know the Watershed Academy, you had some young folks involved in your first go around of the more extended Watershed Academy this past fall. And so what advice for people who may not have thought about joining the water sector before do you have for young people who are thinking about this career, or who aren't thinking about this career but maybe could be?
I would say the water industry itself is a hidden gem where positions really match people's passions. And so not only can you learn on the job, which is what I actually did, you also have the opportunity to go to any of our local colleges, whether that's the community colleges or four-year institutions, to be able to look and see if they have water technology programs, education around water or water wastewater itself. So I would say don't be afraid to start at the ground level if you have no experience whatsoever. And one of the great ways of doing things is sometimes just networking with people that are already in the industry to see if, your interest grows by some of the conversations that you start to have.
Yeah, so maybe even doing like an informational interview with someone like you at an organization, finding out more about the work that you do, and seeing if it would be a good fit.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that you said that the water sector is a hidden gem. I feel like that's so true. And it took me a while to even realize that there were careers in like all different types of the water sector, like wastewater, drinking water, stormwater. And so, yeah, I think that's like definitely a message that like young people need to hear, that like there are opportunities to engage directly with the community through these avenues, and it can be really exciting work. So I was wondering, we've talked a little bit about the Watershed Academy, and this might be your answer to this next question, but I was wondering if you could share an exciting project or initiative that you're working on right now as a part of your work with ECWA.
Yes. Well, as you know, increasing environmental awareness really helps us foster sensitivity, appreciation, and respect for the outdoors and building our knowledge, right? It also gives us a chance to increase our resiliency in the face of current and future climate change. And so one of the things that we were able to do in 2019 is create a program called the Watershed Academy. Now, that version of the Watershed Academy was initially for young adults, ages 8 through 16, to help them understand the importance of preventing polluted stormwater runoff and really giving them education about their local urban watersheds. This was a half-day event, and before the day was over, we had families asking, when is the next Watershed Academy? Well, there was no other Watershed Academy, because really this was more about engagement and education. But it told me that there really was a need for this type of education in our community. And so we were able to go on in 2020 and create a full version of the Watershed Academy. So now we have a 4-month program, and we have 5-week programs. And we really focus on community residents who have the desire to be stewards and advocates of green stormwater infrastructure and environmental justice in their neighborhoods. So the Watershed Academy equips these participants with educational tools so that they can lead land conservation efforts like clean water initiatives, if they're interested in garden programs or flood mitigation, that they are leading these champion projects in their communities. And so our first 4-month program concluded on December 12th, and then we'll get ready to start our first 5-week program, which starts on March 6th.
That's awesome. So you've kind of tried out these different models and really like been able to meet community needs through the response you've gotten with the different initiatives that you've done. And yeah, I know that your first go around with the Watershed Academy was really successful, and it's so exciting that you and even others in the Triangle are doing these this sort of community watershed education
Yes.
model. I think that's really important, and I'm so glad that you saw that need and have been able to continue to begin addressing it and getting more people involved. And yeah, that's a really important work. Okay, so my last question for you is, what are some of the existing trends and challenges that you experience in your workplace?
I was thinking some of the trends or challenges would be community members who really haven't had their voices amplified around water quality issues that really are directly impacting their daily quality of life, and how we are looking for ways to really increase our engagement in communities of color, identify avenues for sharing resources and tools around water quality or flood mitigation. How do we work on making sure that the people who want to have access to this information, who hasn't had access to this information, that we are bringing and delivering that information in a way that is, one, digestible, and that's not full of all these terms that people don't understand. Because once we start using those terms, there's a barrier right then and there. People stop listening because they don't understand what we're talking about. When we can really put it in some simple language that really is meaningful to the people that we really want to be in touch with. So that's a particular challenge, but we really are working hard through programs such as the Watershed Academy to be able to reach more people in Durham to be able to provide this type of information.
Yeah, I love that you focus on people being the experts and the champions of their own environment, because I think that's so true. As people in the water sector, we might know the terminology, but we don't know the place. And that's really the connection to water, is the places where we live and where we breathe and where we recreate. And so I think I love that focus on pulling in the personal experiences and the stories of people in the local community, and then empowering them to take action in ways that they feel are important for their community. I think that's so important to do for people of all ages. And I definitely feel that need in my own work too. So I think that's really wonderful that you've really captured that and run with it in your programs that you've been working on with the Watershed Academy and how it's grown. And you're such an inspiration to me and so many other people in the Triangle and the water sector. And yeah, thank you for all of the great work that you're doing. And I know you've got a big community of folks who are doing it with you, and that's amazing. It's so inspiring.
I would say thank you for the partnership, because one of the things about what we do is being able to highlight other organizations that are doing the same work, so that our community know that there's a wealth of resources that are available for them to be able to pull information from. And so that's another great thing about what we're doing. When we start to collaborate, we actually are expanding our reach, and that's important to me as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier the importance of a network, and I think that's so important, not even just in the water space, but just in general, having that network of support, and being able to connect with other people who are doing the same work as you, or who are in careers that you want to be in. That network is so key to being successful, and also being able to collaborate with other people and really expand the reach of work that you're doing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Keisha. It was wonderful to chat with you. I'm going to stop recording now, unless you have any final parting thoughts.
I don't. I just, anybody that's really interested in being part of this work, I would just highlight once again, all it takes is someone that has an interest. and the rest will follow.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I love those parting words. I'll leave it there for everyone to savor and marinate on.
Thank you.